What is up? Matt Bratton here with tmbanalytics.com, and today I'm going to share with you my 7 steps to landing that analytics interview. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I'd like to introduce you to our top sponsor, TMB Analytics. We don't actually have any sponsors, but look, I have been around the block, my friends, and I've been in the analytics game for over 15 years. I've been recruiting, hiring, training, interviewing analysts for the past 10 plus years. So that's right, I'm a real life analyst and I've seen a lot. I've risen through the ranks, and now with hundreds of students from 40 plus countries and counting, I am so very excited to be able to share with you all these 7 steps to landing that analytics interview for your dream job. So why don't we just jump right in, okay? Step number one is to paint the big picture. It's be Bob Ross, just beautiful, happy trees, right? We need to identify our destination, because if you don't know where you're headed, then it doesn't matter what path you choose. I heard a very smart man once said that. Or was it a cat? It might have been a cat. But anyway, look, I know what you might be thinking. Like, no crap. Of course you need to know where you're headed before you do a job search, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is it's time to set some goals, okay? What I mean is time for you to take a look 10 years, 20 years out from now and figure out what it is that you want to be when you grow up. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be doing? Use this time to really level set with yourself and consider your options, and make sure that as you zero in on what you ultimately would like to be, you know the next step that you're taking along that path is either going to lead you down that road or it won't. I bet you didn't think that we were going to get all deep on this stuff, did you? But hey, now is as good a time as any to start thinking about this stuff. And it's all going to be part of building your story, which is something that we get much more into detail on in the Analytics Career Access Essentials course, Application Secrets. But if you'd like more details on that, they're going to be in the description below. But before we get ahead of ourselves, if you've got a good sense for where you're headed and you know your next step is going to help you get there, now it's time for step number 2. So step number 2, the job search. Is this another no crap moment? You starting to think I'm an idiot? Hold your horses, okay? Hear me out. Most people have a generally accepted way of applying for a new job, right? It goes like this. Step number 1, go to Indeed, go on LinkedIn, go on Google, do a job search. Step number 2, apply. Step number 3 is the waiting game. And if you're super fancy, there might actually be an extra step in there, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But you get the point. The job search is sort of the beginning and the end of the entire process. All you do is click around, use the shotgun approach, throw all the spaghetti against the wall, because something's got to stick, right? And guess what? This is just generally accepted because it's generally accepted. That's what everybody does. So eventually somebody's going to call. Eventually something's going to happen, right? But as I'm saying, this doesn't sound very proactive nor efficient, does it? So you have to be thinking to yourself, there's got to be a better way. And there is. If there's anything I've figured out in life, if you find yourself asking that, there probably is. And so what you're actually going to do is go on LinkedIn, go on Indeed, whichever you prefer. And what you need to do is determine what it is that you want to do as your next step, and be very intentional about this job search. Pick 3 to 5 jobs for your ideal role that you want to do next, okay? And then from here, once you've got those, you are not going to apply. That is not your next step. No, big no. What you actually are going to do is take a Word document and start to aggregate and deduplicate all of the requirements and details about these job descriptions into one master job description, okay? And this master JD that you just created is going to represent the most well-rounded candidate for all of these jobs combined, okay? And this document is going to be incredibly useful, especially as we head into step number 3. So step number 3, now it's time for some introspection. This step can take as long as you want, but you have to be honest with yourself above all else. You need to put pen to paper now and pretend that you're the hiring manager for this super analyst role that you've just created with this master JD. Now grill yourself. Which requirements can you just check off? Slam dunks. You've got these things in the bag. Which experience or attributes to this master JD are you kind of like, meh, I don't know? And which ones are legitimate gaps in your experience? Like, you don't have these. You need to be honest here. Honesty goes a long way, and I promise you, if you get the urge to lie to yourself, you're going to lie to a hiring manager, and I can assure you that that never ends well. Don't go there. Just be honest. Take this inventory, and I'll say that your objective here is to make sure that the 80-20 rule is in your favor, because here's the deal. Job descriptions are really just wish lists, okay? They're not usually set in stone requirements. So as long as you can convincingly check off 80% of this master JD, that last 20% you can cover through a really effective interview process, but more on that later, okay? So now you know what qualifications you've got and you know what you don't. Now it's time for step number 4, which is to give your LinkedIn and your resume an overhaul, just to make sure that it's addressing all of the things that you said you had covered in your 80% bucket, okay? You want anyone who gets your resume to look at it and think to themselves like, holy crap, this person's perfect. This is what we want people to be thinking about. And so this is also where a lot of people will take shortcuts, and I'll tell you why. Because the conventional wisdom, or what a lot of people preach, is you need to cater your resume to the job. But seriously, if you're juggling 15 different resumes for 15 different applications and you've got one LinkedIn profile, this is a recipe for disaster, inconsistency, you name it, right? The approach I'm promoting, it not only saves you time, but it's honestly just diminishing returns to hyper customize your resume, unless you have a one-off job or a series of jobs in different types of buckets that you're attacking that are completely unlike the others, okay? Which is why we're trying to be very intentional with our search here. So you're picking 3 to 5 similar roles that you think are going to help take you to the next level. Okay, we're on a roll. So now it's time for step number 5. But let's recap real quick, okay? Now we know where we're going. We know what we want. We know what we have versus what the hiring managers want. Our resume is up to snuff, and it is time now to evaluate our network as it stands. If you don't have much of a network, don't worry about it, okay? We're going to get there. But right now, I'm not talking about your LinkedIn network, but your personal network. And for a lot of people, their personal network goes completely untapped during the job search. And it's kind of a strange phenomenon, right? I imagine it goes something because like the first thing that people tend to think about when you think about using your personal network is like some rich kid whose daddy hired him to run the company and he's got no experience or some nonsense like that. But guess what? If that was your daddy, you'd take the job too. Okay, so stop being so self-righteous and own the fact that you might have people in your life who care about you and who are willing to help you out. But they can't do that if they don't know that you're looking or what you're looking for. So go ahead, spread the good word. At least let your close family, friends, and warm contacts know that you're out on the market, and you never know, right? They may bring you some hot leads or help you to make some connections, but you won't know if you don't ask. Wow, step number 6 already? Man, time is flying. Okay, you ready for this one? Because I love this one. This is where the fun really begins because the machine starts to work over time. And if you watched my video on the single biggest mistake that I see analysts making in the application process, this should all sound somewhat familiar to you. So, you know how I said earlier that some people using the conventional job search process, they think they're being all fancy and they take an extra step in the search, apply, and wait process, right? Well, let me tell you what they do and why what they do is wrong. It's so wrong, don't do it, okay? See, some people have realized that with a little bit of diligence, you can track down people on LinkedIn like hiring managers, okay? You can send them a connection request, and not only that, if they accept it, you can start bombarding them with questions about your application you submitted, or you start asking questions about your resume, or say, why haven't I been called? Or invariably start making your pitch on why you're the most amazing analyst ever to walk the earth, right? Please stop. It's bad enough that your resume went into the dark abyss, but if you want to make sure to finish yourself off and get blacklisted, see to it that your application never sees the light of day, go ahead and just start harassing the hiring manager. I heard they love that, right? But seriously, you'll hear me talk about being a normal human throughout this process. And this is when it's most critical because think about it. If you were at some networking mixer in real life and you walked up to a group of people, would you immediately start asking them about that time that you applied at their company and ask about the status of your application or what they think of your resume, right? If you would, okay, I highly encourage you to go read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then we can talk. But no, you'd more than likely walk out, stick up your hand and say, hi, my name is Matt. Nice to meet you. And then you'd have some sort of a fumbling first-time conversation, usually starting with, hey, what do you do? Where do you work? Are you from here? Did you go to school here? Yada, 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 right? And this whole concept is what I call the 90-degree difference. And while cheesy, man, it can be a game changer if you've never really thought about it this way. Because, see, in the example that I gave initially, what does that person do? They walk up to this group, palm facing upward, which is the universal symbol of gimme, 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 right? They're begging. Nobody likes begging, certainly not from strangers, and definitely not in a professional environment. So how do we fix this? It's easy, right? You simply take your hand and you turn it 90 degrees and boom. Handshake is what you lead with. Problem solved. The trick here is, in this whole step, is really to go in, do a little recon for the organizations that you're wanting to apply to, and when you reach out, you need to be calculated. I'm not saying don't reach out. I'm saying proceed like a normal human being. And I promise, if you reach out like this, you're going to increase your likelihood of getting an actual response, but even a favorable response, right? And we're going to get much more into the details on how to do this in the Analytics Career Access Essentials course, Application Secrets, that I mentioned earlier. Link in the details. But for now, that's enough. Time for step number 7 already. Wow. Step number 7. So here we go. Okay, the follow-up. Let's recap one more time. So now you know where you're headed. You've completed your Master JD, right? You've made peace with yourself and what you have to offer. You've made sure that it's reflected in your resume and on your LinkedIn profile. You've let your closest friends and family know that you're on the market, and you've made a few key connections on your own that are hopefully from decision makers within the organizations that you're interested in or intending to apply to. So now it's time to follow up. But before you do that, you need to go back to those initial applications, the top 3 to 5 jobs that you found, right? That you used to create your Master JD. Go to those and start the applications. Begin filling them out. Most processes will allow you to save your progress, and I know some allow you to just apply at the click of a button. Just make note of those, okay? But the key here is to take some form of initiative, because what you're going to do next is reach back out to these individuals that you made connections with in step 6 and let them know that, hey, I really enjoyed hearing from you. I was reading more about your company and I saw that you have an open position for X. I started filling out the application. I just wanted to know if you had any suggestions for me before I hit submit, okay? What you're doing here is letting them know that, number 1, you're interested and applying, and you've taken that initiative, okay? Number 2, that you're open to feedback, always a good thing. And number 3, that you care about their input, okay? More than likely what's gonna happen is they're just gonna say, no, go ahead, just apply, right? Sometimes they might actually say something like, sure, go ahead and hit submit. I'll be sure to take a look. And what this does is gives you permission to follow up once again once you hit submit and say, okay, I've submitted. Thanks again so much for taking your time to speak with me. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you're super busy, so I'll leave you to it. But hopefully I hear from you again. And then you let it go. They have your info. You just have to trust the process, because yet another way to piss people off is to follow up every other hour asking for a status update. Just don't do that. Trust the process. Okay? All right, that was step number 7 of our 7 steps. So I hope you got some value from this video. And if you're serious about getting in and growing your analytics career, please check out the link in the description to my Analytics Career Access Essentials course, Application Secrets. Last time in this video, I'm going to mention it, but that's going to take you on a deeper dive on everything that we just covered. And if you sign up, you're going to get access to resume templates, job search checklists, and a few other pretty awesome bonuses that I've put together for you, okay? And that's going to help take things for you to that next level in your job search. And last but not least, if you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you hated this, hey, give me a thumbs down. But if you do that, at least have the decency to call me mean names in the comments, because I love that. But seriously, if you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. And of course, I have to say this channel's about to blow up, guys, because I've been sitting on and creating so much content over the past several months. It's all coming together now, and I'm about to start posting it. This channel is going to be all about all things analytics careers. So if you're interested and you want to get notified when those videos drop, go ahead and hit subscribe, ring that little bell thing, get your hands on the content before others have a chance to track it down. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I appreciate your time, and let's just move forward with changing the world one analyst at a time. Cheers.